Hey guys, how's it going? So today is going to be a garden maintenance day. I've got a bunch of stuff. Well, there's just, you know, an ever-running list of stuff to do out here. But I would really like to tackle getting a lot of our hydrangeas cut back. You can see the limelights here. I have noticed that the buds are swelling just a tiny little bit. I could wait a little bit longer to prune them, but it looks like our weather's going to be warming up dramatically. Like today's supposed to be 63 degrees. And that's the thing, I'm going to try to get as much done as I can this morning because I want to spend time with the kids this afternoon and go on a walk and enjoy this day. I also have, let's see, roses to cut back, hellebores and heucheras to clean up, and I got the rest of my root trainer containers that I'm planting my sweet pea seeds in this year. So those are in the greenhouse, and I've got my sweet pea seeds soaking on the counter, so I wanted to finish that up as well. We have specific videos on a lot of the things that I'm going to be tackling today, like, you know, what to do with hellebores in the spring, what to do with hydrangeas specifically, with close-up looks at all of the cuts and all of that. So if you would like to watch videos that are a little bit more specific, we will go ahead and link all of those down below. Because I'm not sure how much wisdom I will impart today, and I'll probably forget some things. So anyway, let's start with Hydrangea paniculatas, which are these limelights right here. Paniculata hydrangeas bloom on new wood, which makes them a fantastic hardy hydrangea, because you can prune them back this time of year and then they will still grow new growth and bloom off of that new growth in that year. As opposed to a lot of your macrophyllus and serrata hydrangeas, those bloom on old wood. Some of the varieties will bloom on old and new, but most on old wood. So you don't really ever want to prune on those. We just finished cleaning up this bed. In fact, let me hop over here. I have At Last roses. I have 9 barks that I did trim back in that video. It is not the time of year to trim back 9 barks because they bloom on old wood, but they were so out of control growth, I don't even care that I sacrificed the blooms for this year. I just want to have a nice growth habit. That's the goal for those this year. And then this is the Hydrangea paniculata that was there, so it looked much like those. And that's what I take it down to. It's almost like rose pruning in that you go in and lighten up the whole canopy, trim them back to a nice strong set of buds, and just leave good healthy strong stems and get all the weak ones out. So looking over here, you can see I have made cuts on these because I've used some of these blooms for decorative purposes. But in the end, I'm going to probably take them down. Usually it's by about 1/3 is the rule of thumb. And one of the reasons why you want to wait until they are starting to put on growth and the buds are swelling is that you can kind of gauge how far down to cut each branch, because you want to cut them down to a good, healthy, robust looking set of buds. Even if there's buds higher up on the branch, if they're weaker looking and smaller, you know, get rid of those because they'll produce a weaker stem, and cut them down to that nice looking set of buds. So anyway, I'm just gonna take after these. I'm also gonna be fertilizing them with rose tone when I'm done, because I may as well. Here's my stuff. Got my fertilizer, I've got my gloves, I've got my Felcos. This is a little tarp thing, and then my pop-up bag. Let's do this. Just wanted to stop and show you the first one. I went a little bit more than 1/3, but it looks really good. It's opened up a lot. I cut off a lot of the weaker stems, so anything that looks like this right here, see all those little wispy weak ones? I don't really want to encourage the plant to bloom on those. So all of those are removed in this process, and look at the nice strong stems that are left. So I'm going to put about 1.5 cups or 1.25 cups right around in there, around the drip line of this plant. And then that's pretty much it. Easy peasy. Isn't that crazy how different they look? And I know when you're not super familiar with hydrangeas, or if you're brand new to growing them, it can seem kind of scary and severe to cut them back like this, but oh my word, they rebound so beautifully. They stay fuller, they produce more blooms when you keep them trimmed like this. It's just kind of part of our annual maintenance. On paniculata and arborescens type hydrangeas only. Those are the only two types of hydrangeas I cut back in the spring. So I've got quite a number more to trim back in the same exact way, but I do want to stop and show you how to cut back a standard hydrangea. Specifically, I've got limelight hydrangea standards, and it can look even worse than this. Like, I cut them back pretty hard, but boy, they're gorgeous. All right, so here is the limelight hydrangea standard. Here I've got two of them flanking the garden. So there's one there and one here, and I do have several pictures of what this one looks like when it's in bloom. I mean, this whole area just transforms in season. Right now it's like meh. You know, we're working on it. We're working on getting winter structure, and we've got quite a bit of structure this way, but you know how it is in the winter. So if we look in the canopy here, you can see where new wood is. So you can see that I had cut back this stem this far, and it produced all this new wood with blooms last year. But I'm not going to be keeping stuff that's weak and small like this. I'll be keeping larger branches like that. So, you know, this type of thing's going to be gone. All of these little wispy things will be gone. It'll look very, very, very severe. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to show you this. Because this one was extra scary when I very first started trimming these on my own. Isn't that crazy? I remember the very first time I cut back a hydrangea standard like that, and I thought for sure I had killed it, and it ended up being the most beautiful thing. So it gave me confidence going forward to just keep treating them like that, because, you know, things that we keep in standard form like this, they're highly trained. You know, limelight hydrangeas want to get way bigger than we let them get in this tree form. I mean, you could certainly let it get that size if you wanted to, but I kind of wanted more of a compact, formal feel from this plant, and this is how you do it. I also staked it up, kind of. The root ball felt kind of loose in the ground actually, and I had it tied up this way to the fence last year, so I kind of corrected the problem. It was leaning that way, but then I noticed it was leaning quite a bit like right toward me, so I tied off with tree rope to that fence over there, and I'll just probably leave that tied for this season. And I'll keep an eye on this. The tree rope is what we use down at the garden center to tie things up because it's really soft and it doesn't hurt trunks and things like that. But if we get excessive winds or something for some reason, it's just something I'll keep an eye on because I don't want it to wreck anything there. So that's pretty much it in terms of hydrangeas. I've got, you know, the incredible hydrangeas. I don't know if you can see them right there around our fireplace area. I need to get those trimmed back. And I've got other, you know, pinky winkies and firelights. Few more standards to trim back, so I'm going to try to get all of those done and fertilized, and then hopefully we have time to move on to roses. Done. So I'm in the back garden trimming back the Invincible mini mauvettes, and I just ran into something really interesting, which may be the reason why these hydrangeas have not thrived. So I noticed as I was cutting back some of the branches, they looked hollow, and I could see some frass, which is like sawdust looking stuff. See that right in here? Which is leavings from insects. And then I found a larva right here, and I don't know what it's from, but there's something clearly eating its way through these hydrangea stems. Dang it. Well, at least I know it wasn't me this whole time. So that's really interesting. I've never seen a boring insect attack hydrangeas before, but I've been wondering why the heck these hydrangeas haven't been looking that great, and that might be the reason why right there. So in that case, when you find that, You need to use a systemic insecticide to get rid of something like that, typically, because these plants are eating up through the center of your stems, through your plant. You know, it's probably the best way to go about it because I don't know what kind of larva that was. With blooming plants, it's a little bit trickier because when you use a systemic, oftentimes it will harm anything that feeds on that plant. But these aren't really a pollinator attracting plant, thankfully. I haven't noticed pollinators on them. So we'll have to figure out what we'll want to do with these. And I should have probably showed you this sooner, but this is what I mean by it's best to wait to prune your hydrangeas until the buds start to swell. So those are 2 buds right there, and you can see that they are pliable, they're starting to grow, but further up the stem the buds were a lot weaker, so I brought it down to right above. I could have cut this a little shorter, but I was going quickly. Yeah, just cut right above a strong set of buds that look like that. Can you believe there are buds on the plants? And just down the same row, there's snow on the ground still. And before we leave this area, I just have to show you the snowdrops because they are in their full glory right now. Look around this redbud tree. Look at all of them. You might remember last fall we planted 500 in this area. And I don't love the physical activity of planting bulbs. It's a lot of work. But when you get to come enjoy this sort of view in the spring, it's totally worth it. Look at these. They are glorious. The ones in the containers are a little bit further behind, but you can see they're coming, they're trying. This pot got knocked over one time this fall, or winter. You can see the soil's all disrupted. We'll see what happens. So I am kind of running out of time. I don't think I'm actually going to tackle any roses today. I think I want to go tackle some hellebores because it's something that I've really been wanting to do, and I think it's going to be satisfying because the leaves look so bad, and then I've got to get my sweet peas planted. So I think that's going to be the order of the rest of this morning because that's all I have time for. So we're back up where we started with the hydrangeas. These hellebores have been calling my name for a long time. They are looking rough, and you can see the new growth in here, the beautiful new growth. They're about ready to bloom, but I want to come in here and just cut off all of these crummy looking leaves. All I do, you guys, is come in and cut the leaves at the base and just remove them. The plant will be completely fine, like these blooms will be fine, and it'll produce new leaves here really quick. So anyway, that's all I'm gonna do is just clean these up quick. Doesn't that make a huge difference? So that one is all cleaned up and looking so much more fresh. Okay, just a few more left. Oh, that was satisfying. Looks so much better. I still need to rake over here, but I think I'll do that all at one time when I clean up the front bed as well. The weird thing is, there are 5 hellebores in this space, or 6. No, 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 in this area. Only one of them has bloom stalks that are up above the ground. Everything else is just starting. Like all of the rest of them are as healthy as can be. The stems look completely normal, but the buds are just below the surface still. So that's odd. Okay, so now that those couple of things are done, I do still have a couple random hydrangeas. I need to go out to the far corner of the new property and get those that we just planted last year. They'll likely only need a very light trim, but I need to get the sweet peas planted. So I'm gonna go gather those seeds in the kitchen. They're sitting on the counter, and then I'm gonna assembly line the process. I'm going to fill all the trays with soil first, then get all the seeds in, then top all of them with soil, get them all in the studio under grow lights. So hopefully that process is nice and speedy. Oh man. Yeah. Isn't that a thing of beauty? 352 sweet pea plants right here, and I've got 96 already going in the studio, so that's 448 sweet pea plants. And I'm not even sure why. Like, why of all things I want to grow so many sweet peas. They are easy to grow, they smell really good, and they are a really nice mask for a fence, which I might put the ranch panel fence back up around our space, or at least behind it somehow, which it's not the best looking trellising system, so if I've got a beautiful vine on it that's got flowers, then who cares? You know, put whatever you want out and let these vines grow over it. We did recently do a video about sweet pea seed starting, so we will link that down below, but just in short, I did use a seed starting mix. I used the deep root trainers, which sweet peas prefer. They are a very deep rooted plant. There's a butterfly in here. What? Look at that. Oh my word. What a beauty. It's like chocolate brown and butter yellow with little blue dots in between. Gorgeous. Anyway, I totally don't know what I was talking about. The containers maybe for sweet peas? Okay, so this might be a repeat, but I put the seeds in the deep root trainers because they do create a lot of roots. And last year I didn't do that. I didn't have anything big. I used my regular seed starting trays, which it worked, but I ended up having to pot them up like midway through the seed starting process before I was ready to plant them outside, which that just, it takes an enormous amount of real estate when you've got, you know, 450 plants that you all of a sudden have to bump up to a 4-inch size can. I didn't have space under grow lights. I had to put them out here in the cold frame, which they did fine. I ended up having to put like harvest cloth over them a few nights, actually several nights, and they made it, but it was an extra step, and I'm hoping by using these root trainers I can eliminate that and I'm not gonna have to pot them up middle of the way through this whole process. And then I did pre-soak the seeds, so they soak for 24 hours or just at 24 hours. And then I plant them about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch deep. The 3 that I already have in the studio, which I'll try to get some footage of, one of the whole trays is completely up and the other ones are kind of coming a little bit slower. And so I'm really encouraged about that because those were seeds I gathered from my own garden last year. So anyway, that is it for today. That's all I have time for. I was really pleased though with how much we were able to get done. I am going to take these sweet peas into the studio and put them under grow lights. The grow lights don't have to be on until you start seeing the green. You start seeing some germination in there. So it usually happens very quickly with sweet peas. And we have done videos, like specific videos about everything we did today already. So like hydrangea pruning, hellebore care, and then sweet pea planting. We will link all of those down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and hanging out with me today. It was a really fun morning, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.